Welcome to the Vault.
This homeschooling was something I wasn't looking for when I looked at these 11 people. But it is fairly frequent, and it's not so much the statistical thing, but it seems quite logical. If you have a parent that knows that a child is struggling in school and that they're sort of having psychological abuse because they can't read and the teacher thinks they're really dumb, they'll try to go to another school if they can. If that school is not available, then they'll teach them at home for as long as they can. And of course, we're talking about historical people where it was not so clear that you usually paid somebody to go. You weren't not required that everybody had to go to school at different periods of time. And so it seems to me quite obvious that a parent who does appreciate the intelligence of the child, and particularly if that parent, whether it's a mother or father, has some of these traits in their own childhood or in the family. I think this is another fascinating thing, because dyslexia is not an individual thing. It is a strong genetic trait, and it goes through the whole family and expresses itself in different ways. And different family members are going to have different traits in different proportions. And I think this is most extremely interesting. But also, because there's so many difficulties, you have trouble in school, then you have trouble in work, and then you have emotional problems that may be only because you're having trouble in school or work. And then you might have drinking problems or substance abuse problems, and then you might have anger and fear, and the typical thing is a father is beating up on the kid because he doesn't want the kid to be such a failure as the father is or feels. And so that's sort of the negative process that you see going on, and that can go on and on for generation after generation after generation. And it's very sensitive, I think, to the context. If you go back far enough in history where people didn't have to go to school, you could learn as an apprentice in a mill, a small mill, as some people I know about, these hundreds of years ago, then you don't have the problems there. People know how to fix the mill and keep it operating and keep grinding the corn and keep the income coming in. And it doesn't make any difference how much how easy it is to read. And actually, Norman Geschwind made a point about this. Was that he talked about a group of people to whom I don't want to divert too much, but he said where music was terribly important, and you had to have any status in this community, you had to be a musician. And he talked about himself as a brilliant Harvard scientist, neurologist, and he says, I have no musical abilities, and if I was in that community, I would be washing the floors. Yet, if I'm in a neurological department, I am the top guy. But if I was in a place where music was the only thing, I would be at the bottom. Similarly, I think it is with dyslexics. Is if reading is the only thing that is important to the culture, then you're at the bottom. And if your mechanical abilities or your ability to be creative is valued, then you're at the top. And this is something that I talk about all the time. Is we must look at the talents of dyslexics, because that's really what shapes a person's life, not just the fact that they have so much trouble reading.
Hi, I'm Harvey Hubble. You're watching Seedling.tv, nourishing mind, body, and planet. Subscribe now. It's good for you.